Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Scott sent me a note. So Steve, check out the story. Don't know if you'll be interested in this or not, but I thought you should see it. I'm interested in this. I am. I have an HP printer, Hewlett Packard printer. And it's what prints out the things that I have here in my hand when I do these videos. And I've had several HPs in a row, and I've never had many problems with them. But I can tell you that the toner cartridges are expensive. Toner cartridges are expensive. Now, I had an office a few years ago right down the street from a place that would refill toner cartridges. And I used to go there and get my cartridges refilled, and that was pretty good. But right now, I'm not as close to that place as I was, so I go online and order the cartridges. Cartridges from HP are expensive. And I found out that you can actually get a replacement generic cartridge for one quarter the cost of an HP cartridge. So I thought, okay, that's worth a shot, saving all that money. So I ordered the cartridge not so long ago, put it in my printer, and every time I fire it up, number one, it puts up a weird message on the screen that says 10100 supply memory error. 10100 supply memory error. But all you gotta do is press OK, it goes away and it prints for you. And of course, what it's doing is the machine is complaining that you bought a non-HP toner cartridge. But it also shrieks when you do it. It makes that beeping noise, but as a constant beep the entire time it's printing because it's upset. It's angry at me. So the story here is that HP outrages printer users with firmware update suddenly bricking third-party ink cartridges. Now, ink cartridges and toner cartridges, of course, are a little different, but I think that conceptually they're the same. But the good news is that my printer is not connected to the internet. I did not connect my printer to the internet, and so my printer doesn't get firmware updates. And my printer works. I use it as both a printer and a scanner, and it's not connected to the internet. So apparently I have the workaround where I can use these third-party toner cartridges, and HP can't stop me other than putting up that weird supply memory error and then having the machine shriek at me while it prints. But I'll put up with that for how much money I save. So again, Ars Technica wrote the article. Sharon Harding is the author. Hewlett Packard customers are showing frustration as the vendor continues to use firmware updates to discourage or, as users report, outright block the use of non-HP brand cartridges in Hewlett Packard printers. HP has already faced class action lawsuits and bad publicity from Dynamic Security, but that hasn't stopped the company from expanding the practice. Dynamic Security is a feature used by HP to authenticate ink cartridges and prevent use of cartridges that aren't HP approved. As the company tells it, Dynamic Security relies on the printer's ability to communicate with the security chips or electronic circuitry on the cartridges. HP uses dynamic security measures to protect the quality of our customers' experience, maintain the integrity of our printing systems, and protect our intellectual property. Why not say you're also protecting our nation's interests? I mean, come on. Protect your intellectual property? You think my toner cartridge is going to steal some of your knowledge? It's going to steal your soul. So, dynamic security equipped printers are intended to work only with cartridges that have new or reused HP chips or electronic circuitry. Printers use the dynamic security measures to block cartridges using non-HP chips or modified or non-HP circuitry. Reused, remanufactured, and refilled cartridges that reuse the chip or circuitry are unaffected by this dynamic security. Now, HP introduced this security back in 2016, and since 2018 has paid millions of dollars in class action lawsuits. And that would include the customers in the US, Australia, and Italy. After paying up, it seems that HP is set on continuing to use the DRM to discourage its printer customers from spending ink and toner money outside of the HP family. And here's a quote, HP have updated their printers to outright ban non-HP ink. They no longer show the can't guarantee quality message, but instead cancels your print completely until you insert an HP ink cartridge, said one Reddit user online. After contacting HP, they advised this is due to a recent update of all printers. A recent update. How handy, thank you. It's unclear when HP issued updates for which model printers, but there are alleged customer complaints online stemming from late last year showing plenty of consumers surprised their printer no longer works with non-HP ink cartridges after an update. Some pointed to third-party brands they've relied on for years. HP community support threads include complaints about the Office Jet 7740, Office Jet Pro 6970, and HP lists those printers, as well as others, as able to circumnavigate dynamic security under specific conditions. However, HP's support page states that this only applies to models manufactured before December 1, 2016. For more examples, there are comments on HP's support community suggesting HP's Office Jet 6978 and 6968 were recently affected, but both printers have been discontinued. HP's product pages make it clear that the fickle nature of dynamic security means that third-party ink could stop working at any time. So the story is actually quite lengthy. And what we're talking about here is the concept of tying a product to another product. So Hewlett-Packard makes a printer. It's a device that prints things, okay? They also make and sell the cartridges that go in the printer. Those are technically two separate products. And they would like you to buy their cartridges because they cost so much more than generic cartridges. And they like to do that and force you to do that in your printer. Now the question is that legal? And there are laws, federal laws, which is why you've got class action lawsuits, that say that you cannot tie a product like that to the use of another product without running afoul of, the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act, for instance. And I'll give you an example. Ford Motor Company makes oil filters. They also sell, I believe, a brand of oil that is branded with Ford Motor Company's parts department, right? You can get your oil changed anywhere with your Ford, and it does not affect your warranty, and your truck or car will not stop running because it detects non-Ford oil or non-Ford oil filters. As you can imagine, back in the old days, companies loved doing this. Oh, you'll void your warranty if you don't use our spark plugs. So the various laws out there that say that you cannot tie the use of one product to another unless you can prove that there's a reason for it. So let's suppose that you had a vehicle and there was some bizarre part inside it, let's just call it a gonculator, and the gonculator needs to be replaced and put back in, once every 10,000 miles, okay? And it turns out that there are companies that make gonculators out there that aren't good enough. And the company discovers that when these third-party aftermarket gonculators are used, it destroys the engines. And they've done some research on this, and they discovered that the gonculators got to be built with certain tolerances, and for whatever reason, the manufacturer builds them correctly, the third-party companies don't. So they could say the use of a non-factory gonculator could void your warranty, and or put something in there that protect the vehicle from that aftermarket part if that aftermarket part was going to damage the product or something of that nature. But they can't simply say, we're going to make you use this stuff because we want to make money off of you. That's the problem. So it's kind of interesting that they've been hit with all these class action lawsuits, which apparently they've paid out millions of dollars on, according to this article, and yet they return right back to the practice. And that could very well be what many people point out, is that class action lawsuits often don't make the defendant pay enough to discourage them from doing it again. And that's one possibility. Of course, the argument here is, why does that toner cartridge or ink cartridge from a third party, why does Hewlett-Packard have an interest in keeping me from using that? And I don't know legally what it would be. And so I suspect there's going to be some more class action lawsuits coming. And we'll see what happens. Because I can tell you right now that when I bought my printer, and I think my printer might be older than these talk about, because they say here manufactured before December 1st, 2016. I bought it right around 2016. I just don't remember if it was 2015 or 2017. It's a slightly older printer, but I don't do industrial quantities of printing anymore. So, not on that printer. So that printer is my personal printer. Like I said, it prints my blue paper for me and a couple other things. And that's basically it. It's basically it. So I don't know what their argument would be because guess what? Those third-party toner cartridges I buy work just as well as the Hewlett-Packard ones. But they cost 1/4 the price, 25 cents on the dollar. So I can buy one Hewlett-Packard cartridge or 4 third-party cartridges. And the 4 last 4 times as long and print just as good as the Hewlett-Packard does. Just trust me on that one. So it's a crazy situation. And one of the things about this is that Hewlett-Packard is not alone in the field of printers. And so many people out there probably make a decision, when I buy my next printer, don't buy a Hewlett-Packard. And they might not care. Sometimes corporations don't think long-term like that. Someone like me, I buy printers from time to time, and I also talk to people who buy printers from time to time. And people who read Ars Technica or other places on the internet that talk about this might be printer shopping and go, well, I could buy an HP, but then I might be tied to their toner cartridges for the rest of the life of this printer. And that's going to add up. And I mean, I've had people tell me that they bought printers where the ink cartridges cost so much that pretty soon they've spent more on those than they spent on the printer originally, very quickly. And I've had people jokingly tell me that they're surprised that the printer companies don't give away their printers in exchange for you agreeing to buy their products. But we'll see what happens. As of right now, though, HP has outraged printer users with firmware updates suddenly bricking their third-party ink. And so Sharon Harding wrote it for Ars Technica, and Scott sent it. Thanks a lot. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. The brain is a wonderful organ. It starts working from the moment you get up in the morning and doesn't stop until you get into the office.